Did you hide under the desk and have those duck and cover drills in school when you were a kid like me? Let me know in the comments if you did. I'm at one of my favorite places here in the valley because the valley, well, the outside of the valley known for beauty, but not so much Mesa. Let's talk about generational trauma. Now, I know each generation has their own particular traumas that they carry with them, and the nuclear holocaust and all that from the mid-70s when I started school, that was bad. But now I gotta say that my kids went through active shooter drills. So I'm gonna say that the active shooter drills that my kids and kids today still go through, probably worse, but the constant drum beats of the nuclear holocaust definitely left its scars on us, I'm sure. So I started school in the mid-70s, and I grew up on Long Island.
Long Island? Oh shit, this is rich.
Now this is important to the story because we had it particularly bad, and I'll get to the reason why in a moment. My elementary school was Bicycle Path in Selden, which was in the middle of Long Island, so 10 minutes either way you hit water. So going through the Penny Desert reminded me of one of my favorite movies because the scenery was very similar, and they did film the Planet of the Apes in 1968, which, hey, I'm 1968. It reminded me of this childhood trauma because the constant drumbeat of nuclear annihilation permeated the whole culture. So it gave us some fantastic movies and also gave us some really, really good music. So the ending of, wow, it's really pretty here. So the ending of the Planet of the Apes, and spoiler, I mean, well, it is almost 60 years old now, was insane.
I'm home. All the time. We finally really did it. You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
So remember the context that I'm a little kid watching this, and they've been telling us at school we're all going to die in a nuclear annihilation.
Everyone!
And not only was that intense on us, at least it was on me, but then there was the follow-up to it, which had that really, really creepy ending. Holy crap, they're worshiping a bomb. They're worshiping a bomb. And man, was it creepy watching that as a little kid in the late 70s, early 80s. That really, it still creeps me out to this day. But then there was also the music. We had, you go back into the late 60s when the Jeff Beck Group, which if you have not listened to Truth, you need to do yourself a favor and get that album. I've worn out a number of those. But there was Morning Dew, which is all about nuclear holocaust.
You did not hear no young man cry.
And then Black Sabbath had more than one anti-war, of course, War Pigs.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.
But of course, right in line with nuclear holocaust was Electric Funeral. Not many songs as cool as Electric Funeral. And then of course, oh, there we got some ducks here. And then of course we have Metallica, Fight Fire with Fire. Hearing that for the first time as a 13-year-old, yeah, that got my attention real fast. It permeated the culture. It created a trauma that you can still feel to this day. But at the time, especially at the time, I mean, I didn't even know I was going to make it to be an adult.
I don't know. I never thought I'd get this far.
I kind of figured by 1985, 1986, I figured that, wait, but me and everyone I know, we'd all be dead already, you know? I mean, hell, if getting under the desk really would have helped, maybe if Sarah Connor had kept her, you know, if she had kept her ass under that desk, maybe it would have turned out different. The Terminator is also an example of something that was very much a part of the culture, and it had to do with nuclear war. So we also had The Day After, which was watching that as a kid. Yeah, that just reinforced this whole notion that we were all going to die. And the reason why growing up on Long Island is so important to the story is because of its location, of course. The anxiety that was caused when they decided to build the Shoreham nuclear power plant on the coast of Long Island, the North Coast, which was a very short drive from where I lived in Selden. And the problem was, if there was a meltdown, you could not evacuate. So what we had in 1979, again, I'm 9, 10 years old, you had the 3 Mile Island meltdown incident. I mean, Chernobyl, a lot of people know about Chernobyl. That was pretty bad. That was horrific, Chernobyl. Not so much about 3 Mile Island, unless you grew up out there, I'm guessing. But it was pretty traumatic to then put that together with all that happened there, and put that together with the fact you cannot evacuate Long Island. So why would you build a nuclear power plant when we're all being taught from the time we're little kids that we're all gonna die in the nuclear holocaust? So you're fearing and you have this anxiety about nuclear anything. And so why? What would possess you to put a nuclear power plant on Long Island or in a location you cannot evacuate? So there were a lot of protests and whatnot. And it was eventually shut down, and I don't think they ever really powered it up, which was great. But the trauma was there. And I remember a teacher telling us, hey, don't worry if they eventually shut down the Shoreham nuclear power plant. That's not a big deal, because if the nuclear power plant in Connecticut, if that's ever going to have a meltdown, man, not much water here. I guess I'm glad that they're building so many damn data centers right here in Mesa. So it didn't matter if you didn't have a nuclear power plant right there on Long Island, because you've got them in Connecticut, and if that melts down, you can't evacuate. It's still close enough. You still cannot evacuate Long Island. I'm like, oh, great. And I remember as a young adult, finally getting the nerve to go and actually see the Shoreham nuclear power plant. It was still filled with anxiety just because of what it represented, what could have happened. So that was not a fun trip, but one of those things where you kind of have to confront your fear, I guess, and so I went with some friends. So I remember even going out to California. So you go on the I-10 here in Phoenix, and you take it, that's the main road to get to California, and you had the Palo Verde nuclear power plant. And just seeing the plumes of steam from the I-10, yeah, that still was enough to generate some anxiety. So having nuclear holocaust pounded into your head from the time you're 5 years old for a decade, being intertwined with the culture. It's in music, it's in movies, it's in books. It just seems to be that's what you have to look forward to. Is it no wonder that, at least I carry some of that when you see the news, escalation again of the constant never-ending fighting that is the Middle East. You hear that, then you see headlines for the last few years with Russia and Ukraine, and there's always a threat of nuclear annihilation, nuclear holocaust, nuclear bombs being used. So you can't, oh, there's a whole bunch over here. They have to, it's a little warmer, a little cooler over here too. It is, it's October, and it's 108 degrees here in, it's actually Gilbert, Arizona, but 108 degrees here in the valley. It's insane. So if there's gonna be a nuclear holocaust, there's always some anxiety. It's not crippling, it's just, you do feel it, you do get reminded. That's what you heard in your whole childhood. I don't know, I mean, do you, let me know in the comments, do you see the headlines and the talk about escalation in the Middle East? Get a little anxiety that you know, the that inevitable, you know, that inevitable end to everything, just everything being vaporized in an instant. You ever get that? Let me know in the comments how that affects you, if it affects you at all, or is it really just me?